demanding the rights of migrant domestic workers.
This frustrated woman was among many other migrant workers who took to the streets of Lebanon on Wednesday. They're demanding more protection from the country's labour law, as well as the abolishment of the current sponsorship system, the kafala.
We just come here like any Lebanese citizen. They work outside to work here, to make some money. So we deserve respect and we deserve treated like human being, So we take care of their family and the kids, so we don't get the respect.
Migrants usually come to Lebanon to find work, and under the kafala system, they're tied to a sponsorship structure that links their immigration status to one single employer, a system that rights groups say leaves workers vulnerable to abuse.
There are about 250,000 migrant domestic workers in Lebanon, mainly women from Nepal, from Bangladesh, from Ethiopia, and from Sri Lanka. Human Rights Watch has for years documented abuses against these workers as a result of the kafala system that they live under in Lebanon, which drastically restricts their rights and allows employers to withhold their passport, to restrict their days off, to have unlimited working hours, and to withhold their pay.
Many migrants have lived in the country for decades, and for them, Lebanon is home. But with the current laws, some say they don't feel secure.
I am facing many difficulties with continuing my studies because of the residency. I'm in constant fear whether they will give me a residency or not. Would I be able to continue forward or not?
By law, migrant workers are not allowed to have children in Lebanon, and if they do, they're sent back.
General Security needs to stop deporting women for having children in the country. They should not be punished just for trying to have a family here. Some of these women have lived here for 20, 30 years. Some of them I spoke to came to Lebanon during the Civil War and have been working here since then. Their children have grown up here, and the deportations have really split up families. They've caused parents to lose their jobs, and they've interrupted children's education. And so these are enormously painful deportations for the people involved. But Lebanon needs to go further than that. They should reform the kafala system.
The latest humanitarian reports say at least 2 migrant workers die every week in Lebanon. Many of those deaths are caused by suicide. And if laws are not reformed, this figure could rise further. Soraya Lennie, TRT World.
Well, for more on this, we're joined by Tim Noonan. He's in Brussels, the Director of Campaigns and Communications Department at the International Trade Union Confederation. Tim, just for our benefit of our audience who don't know you, just tell us very briefly what your Trade Union Confederation does for international workers, including these domestic workers.
Well, we, Matthew, work on a whole range of different levels. We provide direct support to workers and trade unions in countries all over the world. We also do run international campaigns. Some may be familiar with the campaign action we've been undertaking around the kafala system in the Gulf countries, and in particular Qatar in relation to the World Cup construction. And of course we work at international level in the International Labour Organization, the United Nations system and elsewhere. So we try to provide a comprehensive global package of solidarity and support for working people.
And what access do you have to the people in our report, for example, the domestic workers of Lebanon who really could use your support right now?
Well, we've been working some considerable time with groups inside Lebanon and many other countries where the migrant worker crisis is so profound these days. Of course, getting access to domestic workers is extremely difficult. They're kept very often in effectively sealed or clandestine conditions, extremely vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. We hear the terrible news this month that the official figures from the government's own security service talk of 2 workers dying every week. A lot of that is attributed to suicide. We can understand why people become desperate, but in reality, nobody knows. These events are happening very often behind closed doors. No autopsies are carried out. There is no rule of law.
How can this keep going on in the year 2017, Tim? I mean, it's been going on for decades, and it is a very racist form of employment. This wouldn't happen with local people in the Gulf countries and in Lebanon. How can this keep going in 2017? What kind of crooked system keeps this going?
Well, we think it's the dynamics are different in different countries. I think the dynamics would be different in Lebanon to say they would be in Qatar or Saudi Arabia or other countries where the kafala system is still existing. This is a form of modern slavery, and entire economies are built around it. So there are very powerful economic interests.
What needs to happen, Tim? Because people have been watching this, and they will be watching this for decades if something isn't done. What needs to be done to help these poor people?
Well, governments need to step up to the mark. So the first question lies at the feet of in this case, of the government of Lebanon. The law in Lebanon, there is no law for migrant workers. They're not allowed to join trade unions. The local Lebanese trade unions have tried to establish unions for migrant workers, two of whom were deported earlier this year or at the end of last year, two young Nepalese women, simply because they were trying to advocate for union rights for migrant domestic workers. So this is a global scandal. It's a global scandal of modern slavery. Kafala in significant parts of the Middle East is part of the problem. It's a pernicious system that ties the worker entirely to the employer. It is slavery in the year 2017.
Yes, it is.
And the international community's got to wake up and stop this. And we have to recognise that there are, in particular in the Gulf countries, very powerful financial interests behind the retention and maintenance of this system.
Tim Noonan,
the international community's got to stand up.
You're absolutely right on that last point. Thank you so much for joining us on Money Talks.